Hi Team Value, JJ here, welcome back. Well, today we're going to have a look at the bull and bear case for Tesla, specifically focusing on robotaxis. We've got this analyst here from Wells Fargo who's very bearish. We'll take a look at his case first, point by point. And then we've got this analyst here who's very bullish on Tesla, the future of robotaxis, and he states his case. So we'll be able to compare the two. I'll do that. Yes, I'm going to comment all the way through. So let's get into it. Let's see what this guy from Wells Fargo has to say. Really bearish.
So one of the bullish points that people make is FSD, when do you think that will happen? Do you think it will be the gigantic top line and the margins on it would be tremendous? When or ever do you think that will happen?
Well, full self-driving, I mean, there's a little bit of help in the quarter from the release of the full self-driving sort of prototype or demo, and some people might adopt it, and there's a little pricing up. I think it's going to be pretty small. I think if you're talking true full self-driving robotaxi, we're going to get the reveal on 8/8. I think, typically I actually also take the contrary point here. You get the hype into the reveal. You were talking earlier about all the hype and all of what's probably going to come. And typically there
is some hype into the reveal already. It's not far away. Of course, earnings come out late July, which is not too far away. And that's right before, not so long before, not so far before the 8/8 reveal of the robotaxi. And you get the feeling there'll be fever pitch as the earnings come out, even if they're bad, and there are some predictions that these earnings will be pretty bad. The Q2 deliveries came out and they did beat expectations, but expectations were pretty low, it has to be said. And they're actually 5% down year on year. And the competitor BYD, the main competitor for EVs, is doing pretty well in China as well. So, what's going to happen with these robotaxis? We don't know. There's no details on that yet, but there's definitely some hype starting to build around it. And the stock price has gone up after these deliveries.
It actually falls after that, because then there's this realization it's going to take long. And when I talk to experts, people are very skeptical of a vision-only approach. How do you deal with fog? How do you deal with glare? I think if you look at a lot of things...
There's a good point, with robotaxis with no driver, they have to work in all conditions. Or what, are you going to turn it off and say you take over, and if you're sitting in the back with no driver, perhaps no steering wheel? We don't know yet. We don't know what the robotaxi or cybercab is really going to be like yet. So that's a good point. These robotaxis that are already on the road from Waymo have got all sorts of equipment, not just cameras. So again, we'll have to wait and see, but the stock seems to be climbing on anticipation of what's going to happen on the 8th of the 8th.
To go back to like Waymo and Cruise, they were supposed to deliver full self-driving 5 years ago. But what happens is you get so hyped about the technology, you don't realize getting to that last 1% is a lot harder. I think that's partly what's going to happen here to Tesla. They're all this hype, all this excitement about robotaxi, but it's probably going to prove to be a lot harder to get to. And so I think once you get this, 8/8 reveal, what's the next catalyst?
Yep, so he's saying that, he thinks that after 8/8, the stock's going to go down. Here's his price target, year-end price target, 120, which is it's way above that. Now, let's just have a look, see what it is now. As I speak, we've got 246.39, and it went up 6.54%. This is going into the July 4th weekend soon, and so it's nearly 250 really, and that's for the last session that we've had. But for the past month, it's up 39.76%. So hugely volatile. It hasn't caught a bid for quite a long time. So investors are pretty stoked about that. And so let's see what else this guy's got to say. His target's 120. So he's bargaining on it going down after this 8/8 reveal of the robotaxi.
Got a lot of hype into it, so typically it often fades.
By the way, full self-driving is called supervised full self-driving, right? Isn't that what the regulators are saying that it needs to be called? And the other point is like it's low single digits of Tesla owners who've actually taken up full self-driving. So it's interesting. They're going to have some real technological advances for large numbers to do that. My question to you, though, after my little thing.
Monologue.
Yeah. What we call a soliloquy.
It happened already,
if we were sophisticated.
Go ahead.
We all have a monologue. Now, I'm going to comment on these things. By the way, I have had comments in the comments about interrupting and these kinds of things, but this is a fair use thing. I have to add commentary. I want to add commentary, and that's part of it. So if you don't like that, you can always go and watch the original clips. I'll leave links to that in the description there, but I am commenting on these. This is the purpose of these videos. We're going to look at the bear case and bull case, and I'm going to comment on it. So let's see.
A lot of your competitors, it's interesting. They say it's not a car company. Well, the move that it just had over the last couple of days is, because it's a car company, right? And so how do you think about that a little bit? Because
well, what he's referring to there is deliveries, which, as I said, came in 5% under, but beat expectations by a little bit, but expectations were pretty low, it has to be said.
People are talking about Optimus, they're talking about FSD and all ththese advances and robotaxi. That seems to be a big part of the bull case.
Well, I wouldn't really say that the move the last couple of days is because of the delivery. I mean, it is deliveries, but just if GM beat a little bit, would they be up? I mean, if volumes were down.
No, my point is,
it's because
it's a $700 billion market cap company, and very little of it has to do, at least a lot of your competitors are suggesting, about the sales of these cars right now. It has to do with all this other stuff.
Plus, I mean, it's obviously true, right? I mean, it trades at 90 times earnings. I think my problem is that you're betting so much, on the value of robotaxi, and it probably has a pretty low probability of being a true success. And the core business, by the way, is deteriorating. And by the way, the Chinese competition are coming in and actually doing really good cars. I was out in Detroit.
Okay, so that's an interesting point there. Doesn't think it's got a very high probability. Investing's about probabilities, and this is what people are looking at. People who are bullish on robotaxis think there's a very high probability of Elon Musk pulling the rabbit out of the hat here and really making robotaxis a big thing, and that the valuation really relies on this happening. Kathy Wood from ARK's valuation is a huge amount. Robotaxi is a huge amount of the future thing, and it has to be said there's $0 being made from this. Yes, there's been some made from FSD, but as that guy said, there wasn't not a huge take up yet, so it does rely on this future reveal. So is it going to be a disappointment after this? We'll see the bull case in a second.
At a teardown facility a couple weeks ago, I mean, it's amazing with the technology that China's bringing in. The leaders are not really, Tesla's really not necessarily the leader anymore. It might be the Chinese companies, the EV makers there, like BYD.
Sure. The BYD is doing very well, especially in matching Tesla for sales in China. And China is a massive market, and it's not going to get any smaller. So that was his case, the bear case. Now we're going to have a look at the bull case, this guy's bull case. Now, but if you're getting value out of this video, so if I do, remember to smash that like button to help the algorithm to spread it to more people, and do subscribe here if you're new here, to get more of this kind of content in the future. Okay, let's get into it. Let's get into the bull case. What's this guy going to say? This is a newer clip. It's after the deliveries again, but he's pretty bullish on the future of robotaxis. Let's see what he's got to say. He's a fairly new contributor to CNBC, but he said he's been here for about a year or so, from time to time, getting more popular as things ramp up.
This is really an autonomy play. August 8th, I think it's important kind of from a conceptual point of view. You're going to get people like me write these long, flowery reports, but you're not going to get meaningful financial contribution from a robotaxi for a long while. So, yeah, I think we're caught between these two waves of growth. Not sure how.
Yeah, I mean, Kathy Wood from ARK says their thesis is for 2030, but a huge amount of money to 2030, and we haven't seen any dollars from robotaxis or a robotaxi yet. So how long is it going to take to ramp up?
Or how much near-term upside is there in the stock? But I do like it.
When you said that others may not do the rigorous analysis, what are you basing this rigorous analysis on? I mean, a lot of other analysts who are pointedly bearish on the stock will say that we've gotten no details on what robotaxi will be or what it might mean for the company. So how do you then plug that into a model which is so fine that you can go from a $600 billion valuation plus to 400 something?
I think the way to approach this, do a top-down look, right? You say, do you believe in robotaxis? Yes. Okay. What is the market size for this? It is.
Do you believe in robotaxis? So there's a lot of belief here in terms of it's like a probability of it actually happening and it being a success. It is seems to me a big leap to make. Oh, there are some on the roads, of course, but are they going to get there, going to be able to do it with cameras? And how fast is it going to be able to ramp up? And will it work? What hitches will there be along the way? How can you put any kind of any revenue on that at this point?
It is enormous. Okay. Then you try to be as conservative as possible. Say, what is the minimal amount of market share I think Tesla could get realistically? I give them 20% market share in the U.S.
Market share of what? What is the total addressable?
Of that total addressable market.
Which is everybody in the world who wants to ride a car?
No, it's a robotaxi market where I haircut and I do substitution of private car ownership, only people in cities, housing dynamic. There's a lot of work. Yeah. And so you do that math and you come out to a pretty conservative. Actually, the reason why I cut from 600 to 400 billion is because I lowered my pricing assumption with the help.
Okay, so he's talking about doing math there on something that, revenue that doesn't exist yet. It's interesting to say, he talks about the global addressable market, the total addressable market globally, and we really don't know what that is. I mean, is it taken into account Uber? He's saying he's doing rigorous math on it, but it's pretty much guesswork. It's definitely guesswork here. This is an interesting graph, by the way. Let's just see the global Q1 EV market share. We see here that Tesla and BYD are very close. 18% for Tesla, BYD 16%, VW way back in 7, GM 6, and Geely 5. So these two really neck and neck in global market share. Remember back many years ago when Elon Musk was laughing at BYD, literally laughing at the design of their cars, and really they've done super well. A company invested in by Warren Buffett, and Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, by the way, many decades ago. They've been selling down recently. All right, let's go on.
Help of our internet analysts, and I raise the amount that companies like Uber and Lyft are going to get from that relationship because I was underestimating the value from those app providers.
I'm interested in your take on how far ahead of the curve they are on robotaxis in terms of innovation, because clearly they were ahead of the curve on EVs, but pretty much everyone's caught up with them now, and some Chinese players like BYD can deliver EVs at a much lower cost. So could the same thing apply on robotaxis, at least this time, even before it's become widespread and adopted?
Yeah, that's why
before it's become widespread adopted, they're not even on, Teslas aren't even on the roads yet. We haven't seen anything.
Did this approach where I looked at the entire ecosystem. There's a lot of players that are going to play in this, right? It's like really three parts. It's the car, it's the software, it's the app. There are going to be a lot of OEMs that are going to make the car. There are going to be a lot of companies that will do the software. In terms of them specifically, I do think FSD version 12 was a breakthrough event. I mean, Elon's completely pivoted the company from not only from a headcount perspective, but in terms of pushing out the next-gen facility, now unveiling the robotaxi on August 8th. It is a game changer, and they do have the most miles on the road thanks to autopilot, the biggest fleet of cars on the road. There are a couple other companies, obviously. Mobileye is a good notable one. Obviously, GM and Waymo are. So there are going to be a lot of players in the ecosystem. All I'm saying is they will have a big seat at the table. And like I said, 20% market share for their walled garden, I don't think that's unreasonable, and only 7 to 8% in Europe and China. It's because the overall TAM is so big. It's in the trillions of dollars.
There we go, talking about the TAM. So back in 2021, when emerging tech stocks were going nuts and all those SPACs were coming out, I wonder if you noticed that, a lot of these, the SPACs that came out it was all based on the total addressable market of total projections there, not on any, because the revenue is, some of these were pre-revenue, and this is a pre-revenue business. So we're going back to dot-com bubble days when there were companies pre-revenue. Tesla has definitely proved that it can ramp up, and Elon Musk, it's really a bet on Elon Musk, really, as far as I can see, that he can pull a rabbit out of the hat and make this work. Although it's been saying a year, it's going to happen in a year. Really, there's going to be a lot expected from 8th of the 8th here next month, the big reveal. And if we look back to Battery Day, that was a big event, but really not so much became of that when you think about what they were saying back then. So is it more hype than anything else? We're just going to have to see. This guy's pretty bullish, though.
Only saying they're going to get 400 billion of this enormous game-changing market.
You say, the stock has almost erased all of its losses for the year. you said earlier, those who are sending it up perhaps now are not doing the rigorous math you do. But has that ever been the case that they do the rigorous math? And when, if any, does it actually matter?
It doesn't. You're absolutely right. You have to do this like second derivative thinking with the stock, right? I think what's important to take away from yesterday is not necessarily the stock price, but it's the fact that people are capitulating on giving up on it, right? People want to be constructive on it. That's a signal to me that people are coming around to the robotaxi argument. You know, I've been coming on CNBC for over a year talking about robotaxis. If you look at the YouTube clips and the comments, it's been, this guy's crazy, his shirt is ugly. Like,
hi to that guy. Hi to him if he's watching this video, watching this YouTube clip of him later on.
6 months ago. Look at my recent commentary on YouTube. My mom loves it. It's more positive. So I think there is a sentiment shift. Getting more constructive on this as a reality, not just me with my tinfoil hat on talking about science fiction.
That is sentiment. You know, it's talking about sentiment. The stock's going up. He thinks it's gone up too much just based on these delivery numbers, but I think it's more than that. It's definitely sentiment changing up to, you know, August. It's definitely a ramp up. And Elon's a master of this. He's a master of the story, a master of focusing on the future rather than on these on the numbers, whatever they'll be in these upcoming earnings. It's going to be really interesting to see that, you know, that those delivery numbers weren't so hot. They were actually down on a year ago.
Fiction. So I think people are getting more realistic. I see that as a translation of the stock move, not really that deliveries mean something significant. Cars is only less than 10% of the value of my price target.
What about robots?
I don't value that. It could be something, but I'm looking only at the businesses that they're actually going to do something with, that I believe they can. And there's something we didn't even talk about, megapacks, energy storage.
Right.
There's something that came out yesterday,
Yes.
9.4.
Yes, not many people do talk about energy. I'm glad he brought this up. And that's one of the kind of the best parts of the business here. It's real, it's ramping up, it's working. You know, this is all this focus on future stuff that hasn't happened yet, but megapacks and storage, that's what makes Tesla not just an auto company at this point. Apart from the other research and development, you could say stuff that they're doing, that's real revenue and it's ramping up. I just saw the country that I live in, New Zealand, is getting its first kind of grid level mega pack coming here, or, you know, mega pack system coming here to go on the grid, which is great, good to see.
Record deployment.
I mean, gigawatt hours.
Yeah.
Last year, the entire globe, 100. They did that 9 in 1 quarter. They were 15% of the market last year. They're gaining market share. This thing is growing by like 80% this year. It's actually worth more than my car business as well. I don't think many people are talking about energy storage either.
Yeah, so that's interesting. And Elon's always said that it's going to be bigger. He thinks that it is going to be bigger than the auto business anyway, and now there's these other things as well. So there is potential there, but some of these things are just based on no revenue at all. I've already commented on some of these videos here. I comment on daily videos, by the way. If you don't know about this channel, Stocks a Day with JJ, commenting there every day, about 2 a day I've been doing, you know, reacting to different clips. Some of them are pretty outrageous. I pick outrageous ones. It's pretty fun, you know. Popular clips they are. It's pretty fun for me to do, and I'm pretty critical sometimes of some of the clips there. So go and see that if you want to. I'll leave a link in the description, and also over at Patreon I talk more about this kind of thing. But on weekly investing updates here, I talk about things that I don't talk about anywhere else. If you want to join that, it's actually at the moment it's $5 per month to join this Patreon, which I think is pretty reasonable, especially because I'm doing the stock analysis secret source course. Done 2 of them. I'm doing 1 a week. So I started 2 weeks ago. There's another one going up this week. So stock analysis. I'm not giving stock tips. It's actually stock analysis work. So join if you want to. You can join as a free member as well if you want to, and then upgrade later and just see how it goes. All the videos on there, it's all of the ones that I have publicly, but ad free, of course. So that's a bit of and early access as well. So this is 00 intro to ROAS, return on capital employed. What is that, and why is it important to investing? I started a bit forward there, and then I went back to the beginning. 3 approaches to investing, and as I said, there'll be another one this week going up very soon. So join us over there if you want to. I'll put a link in the description to that as well. And thanks to everybody for watching and listening. I'm going to put a link on the screen if you're watching on YouTube to a video that YouTube thinks that you should watch next. So go and see that now if you want to. And also put a link to subscribe here. If you're new here, do subscribe and get more of this kind of thing in the future. Thanks to everybody for watching or listening, and I'll see you in the next one.